What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that I was actually recommended by someone who follows me on TikTok. His name's Jason. He's been following me for a while now, and he always tries to recommend me films, and he personally messaged me and was like, Nate, you need to check out this film. It's going to hit a lot of the boxes of movies that you really enjoy, and so I had to check it out immediately. It was streaming on Hulu, and it also stars Jim Gaffigan, who I've enjoyed Jim Gaffigan's stand-up comedy over the years. He's had some things that I've really appreciated and I've really enjoyed, and so I was looking forward to checking out this film, and the movie I'm going to be discussing today is Linoleum. Linoleum is directed by Colin West. When the host of a failing children's science show tries to fulfill his childhood dream of becoming an astronaut by building a rocket ship in his garage, a series of bizarre events occur that cause him to question his own reality. So I was really looking forward to checking this out after Jason's recommendation, and I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was incredibly charming, I thought it was very well shot, and I thought the performances in it were really good. So simply, the beginning of the film, we're introduced to Jim Gaffigan's character Cam at the beginning of the movie, and he works essentially like a Bill Nye. He does this science television show, but it is not popular in any way. He lives at home with his wife Erin. It's implied early on in the film that they're getting a divorce, and then he has two young kids that live at the house. The one they focus on the most is the girl Nora that lives at the house. Early on in the film, we see Cam is struggling. He's going through a lot, and he's coming home one day on his bike to come home, and a car just falls out from the sky and crashes, and he sees someone dead that kind of looks like him, and he's really kind of off put by it. He calls an ambulance. They come pick the guy up, don't really tell him who he is. He's at his house spending some time there, and he sees this guy in the paper who looks almost exactly like him, and that man ends up moving into the community with his son, and his son ends up becoming very close with his daughter. The two of them become very close friends, and so the movie is kind of jumping back and forth between Cam's story with his wife and his own personal struggles in like making a mark on the world. Has he really utilized the time that he's had to the best of his ability? And then jumping to Nora's story, and Nora identifies as queer, and she's kind of struggling with her own personal identity and who she wants to be in life. And when this young boy comes into her life and the two of them start to become friends, he's sort of uncomfortable with where he's at. His dad and him have a very broken relationship. And so the film is examining all of those plot arcs until we get to the big third act punch. So like I said, I really enjoyed this film. A big part of that is due to Jim Gaffigan's fantastic performance. This is probably the best I've ever seen him in a movie. I was really impressed with just how incredibly versatile he was in this. He had some really funny moments. He also had some incredible dramatic moments. And then Caitlin Nakin, who plays Nora, was the other strong suit in this film. I felt like she did a really phenomenal job at playing the character of Nora, of giving us that moment in your life, especially when you're in your high school years, that you're kind of uncertain as to who you're going to be or where you are in your identity. And the film looks at like questioning where you're at and trying to figure out where you're at in a way that's really like pertinent and beautiful, that you don't need to know at that very moment who you are. You can spend your whole life trying to figure out who you are. And I appreciated that about the film. I really love the ambiguity of the time period of the film. There's no cell phone usage in this. There's a lot of analog things, especially like the TV. They're using VHS tapes throughout the movie. And so you're kind of guessing like, when is this taking place? And I really liked that. The production design is kind of quirky, especially in its color palette, and I really appreciated that a lot too. There's some really unique lighting moments in this that were unnatural, but I feel like really elevated the film as a whole. My biggest issue with this movie, which I still really enjoyed it, but when we get to the middle act of the film and you're jumping back and forth between these stories constantly, and then we're introduced to this elderly man that Cam is visiting, that it's implied that it could be his father, but we're never really told that 100% in this nursing home that he's dealing with Alzheimer's. We're jumping between all of these different stories, and it's almost like the filmmaker wants to have this big punch at the end, but those three storylines that are interconnected, they're never held on long enough to really hit home in those moments. It feels like it's just so uncertain of where it wants to be in that moment, and it's just missing something to really bring it all together. And I do think the third act does a pretty good job at nailing a big emotional punch, but it doesn't necessarily bring together all of those three arcs in a way that feels completely satisfying. And that detracted from the film for me a little bit, but that didn't take away from the fact that I found this thing to be incredibly charming, really subversive at moments, which I appreciated. There's some really great comedic beats in this. There's some really heavy dramatic moments that I think work really well, from Jim Gaffigan's performance especially. And I think there are elements of this movie that I think anyone and everyone can kind of attach on to one of these characters, whether it be young Nora and just her searching for her identity and trying to find out what she wants for herself, or through Cam's character trying to discern, what is this life all about? Does it really matter if we do something grandiose or really special, or can we just live in this moment and be happy with where we are? And I really liked all of those themes, and that's something that I can really appreciate about this film. And I will look forward to revisiting it sometime in the future, because I think there's a lot of good about it. Despite the fact that I think the middle part of this movie is a little bit messy, I still think it's worth checking out and worth watching. So if you have a Hulu subscription, it's streaming on Hulu right now, and I would definitely recommend you go check it out. So have you seen Linoleum? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was really good. Despite the problems I had with it, I still thought it was really entertaining, and I definitely would recommend checking it out. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot. Lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.